Joining me now is Paolo Von Schirach. He is the president of the Global Policy Institute here in Washington, D.C. Kind of refreshing, isn't it? I mean, when this era of talking trade and tariffs, instead you have two leaders talking about globalization, kind of on the same page, talking about trying to get a deal done. Talk to me about the importance of this meeting and the message, the signal.
Well, look, I guess the intended narrative that I suppose the Chinese leadership wants to have out of this meeting with the leader of the most important economy in Europe, and certainly what is the number 4 economy in the world, is, okay, this is what an adult conversation looks like, ladies and gentlemen. We're not trading insults and threats of tariffs upon tariffs. And so I guess indirectly, and perhaps not so subtly, is to say, look, Mr. Trump, you know, people in other parts of the world can talk to us in a civilized manner about business, about more investments, about trade, without having any animosities. I guess this is in a sense, the essence of the message that comes out of this visit.
She'd like a EU-China trade deal. How likely is that? I mean, it seems like ironing these things out are difficult.
Look, it is, let's face it, it is complicated. And to be honest, some of the issues that have been raised in the cacophony of the trade imbalance and all the things that have been said by the Trump administration, some issues about market access, opening, technology transfer, intellectual property protection. These are issues that, in fairness, have been raised by the European Union as well in their dealings with China. The difference is in the atmospherics, in the way in which these talks are taking place, and whether or not it's possible to come up with certain agreements without calling each other names and issues of this kind. So I think that while some problems remain regarding the bilateral relationship, which is pretty strong, it's about $200 billion a year in bilateral trade between China and Germany. So it seems to me that there's kind of positive and forthcoming attitude by the Chancellor, who is there. I think this is her 12th visit, if I'm not mistaken.
14 years. That's
a lot of visits to China. So it shows how high on the international trade agenda China is for Germany.
And you know, she comes there, she wants things. China, of course, wants things as well. They'd like to see a relaxing of the investment screening regulations that go on in Germany. And one of the things I've heard a lot from people from China on Wall Street as well is it just seems like, you know, we hear so much about the impediments for countries or companies trying to go over in China, but the same is true elsewhere. I hear that on Wall Street, sure. Chinese companies trying to come, the impediments. The same with Germany. Well, what's the likelihood of that?
Not quite sure, but certainly Germany has had second thoughts. There have been a couple of acquisitions of German companies by Chinese interests that have been scrutinized and criticized internally in a domestic debate in Germany. So there are some concerns in terms of, again, these are, let's not forget, and this is the reality, these are different countries with different systems. And therefore, when Chinese companies operate internationally and buy assets elsewhere, there is a concern of, say, well, who's doing this? Who's behind all this? You know, is this the Chinese government doing this, or is this really a private entity? So these are issues that are being debated. They're being debated here, but also they're being debated in Germany. Not to the same extent and not with the same level of suspicion, I guess, that's now rather pervasive here in Washington. So I believe that some kind of accommodation is more likely over there than over here at this time.
It's interesting. China was Germany's largest trading partner for a third year in a row this last year. Germany's economy, though, rather sluggish at the start of this year, and China has its own issues with the U.S. and everything. Both sides would like to see something kind of gin things up or jumpstart.
Absolutely, yes. Germany is not. Let's beyond the atmospherics of this important visit, let's face it, Chancellor Merkel is on her way out. She's not exactly at the peak of her form. She's had a few electoral, misfortunes. She's no longer the leader of the party, and clearly she is about to leave the scene. So she's not, this anointed important personality. I mean, she still is, but not to the same degree that she was 5, 6, 7 years ago. And yes, and as you pointed out, the German economy is kind of not firing on all cylinders. We're talking potential. I mean, I'm not sure there's a fear of recession, but certainly slowing down. The whole Eurozone grows about 1%. Germany is about 0 now.
Yeah.
So things, even though Germany has a very, very strong export sector, they export a lot within the EU, but also internationally. Witness the strong bilateral relationship with China. Yes, I would say that both countries, in fact, the whole world would benefit to be oxygenated by a trade peace, so to speak, whereby no more tariffs, no more sanctions of, that's not the case right now here, but, in regarding other countries. And that would certainly stimulate investments and employment everywhere. Yeah. Certainly even here in the United States right now, even though the White House says, oh, things are going fine, everything is wonderful, but there are sectors that are being hurt by the countervailing sanctions I should say tariffs from China to hitting American goods.
Well, it would be nice to see some positive trade news for a change.
Yes.
Paolo, it's always a pleasure seeing you. I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.